Next up, the big show. An inductee who thought he'd had enough radio, so he retired. Turned out he hadn't had enough radio, so he unretired. Now he's back. Front page, back page, wherever he goes, there's news around him. He's more popular than ever. Mike Francesa from The Fan. And here to induct him is another sports icon, a guy so cool he looks out his kitchen window and he sees the 18th hole of Pebble Beach. Please welcome Jim Nantz.
What an honor. Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Scott, thank you. What a night. Memorable in so many ways. I mean, just getting here. A show of hands, how many took 3 hours to get here tonight? All right, 4 hours. At least 10, yes, I know I heard. 5 hours. I thought you said 6. 6 hours. Dr. O'Brien, you win. Oh, I saw a hand over here too. Good for all you guys for, though, putting in the effort to be here to support those you care about. This is just an unbelievable night for me because I'm watching my life go by as I get to see all these iconic folks that have entertained me in so many ways for so many years. And Mike Francesa, he's not a friend, he's a brother. I asked him this morning, I called and said, can you believe you're going into the Radio Hall of Fame? He said, you know, I'm afraid that clock's going to strike midnight and it's going to all be just a dream that never really happened. Well, Mike, we got about 10 minutes to get you in, okay? I know you mentioned this, Scott. Some of us filtered in a little bit late, but this is the 30-year anniversary of the Radio Hall of Fame. So I looked it up, just to give you a little context. Class number 1, Groucho Marx, William Paley, the founder of CBS, Edward R. Murrow, Arthur Godfrey, Orson Welles, and Cousin Brucey, who is here tonight. How cool is that? I'll say this, though. I'll put this class up against that class. I mean, this is an unbelievable collection of talent. And I've loved hearing the stories tonight, right from the get-go, all of you. Mark, Fred, Mike and Mike. I haven't had a chance to say hello to those two guys who are great pals. Jim, all these speeches. Dr. Laura, Johnny, on and on. Joan, this is crazy. Here's my question, how were you not already in the Hall of Fame? Every single one of you should have been in the Hall of Fame a long, long time ago. But I'm honored to be here tonight to say I got to see you go in. So I was doing the math, I like numbers sometimes. I'm not a big stats guy, but I was thinking about my friend Mike Francesa. He's been on the air 5.5 hours a day for over 30 years. Added up, it's over 50,000 hours, which adds up to over 2,000 days, which adds up to 6 years of his life. He's been taking phone calls from Eli from Staten Island and Vinny from Queens. And Bruce from Bayside. You don't deserve the Radio Hall of Fame, you deserve the Presidential Medal of Freedom for all this. But you know, you've done it in a way that no one ever has and no one ever will. If there was ever a perfect guy to be the voice of New York sports, it was Mike Francesa. He is the perfect embodiment of his area, of the sports fans who live here, and I'm so humbled and honored to know that I knew him from day one 30 some odd years ago. My first day I walked into the CBS Broadcast Center, I had to audition, and I didn't know what I was supposed to do. They gave me like 5-second warning, and they said, interview this next guy. You've got 3 minutes. And out from behind the curtain comes Mike. He introduces himself. I'm Mike Francesa. I did a 3-minute interview with him. And from that day on, I was lucky enough to win the audition. He became my behind-the-scenes editorial consultant, and I thought this was the most brilliant mind I've ever been around in my life. 2 years later, the Fan recognized that. He got the opportunity that keeps on going, and he has set a precedent that I don't know how anybody in that realm could ever be the equivalent of what Mike has meant to the sports medium in New York and New York radio. I am lost in admiration to see my friend here tonight, surrounded by the people who really know him, the family and close friends that treasure his friendship, who have had the honor of having Mike as an important part of our lives for a long time. So, on behalf of your adorable row and those precious children, Em, Jack, Harrison, the rest of your extended family and your WFAN family and your hundreds of thousands of fans who have listened to you for generations, thank you. And it's a privilege to induct you, my friend Mike Francesa, into the Radio Hall of Fame, class of 2018.
Thank you, Jim. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. It's an honor to be up here. First off, let us apologize for the weather, which we can't do anything about, and how long this ridiculous program has been, which we should have done something about. Nobody in radio knows anything about timing, I can tell you that much, my God. Let me just say one thing, and I got a lot to get to, so I'll do it as quickly because I want to hit the post and do it in 5 minutes. First off, how great is it to stand up here at the same microphone with Alan Alda? I mean, Alan Alda, to me, Paper Lion, okay, Hawkeye Pierce, Senator Arnold Vinnick, if you're a West Wing fan, I mean, one of the great talents ever, one of my all-time favorite TV stars. The guy was on the #1 show of all time, that MASH episode, as we know, the most watched episode ever. So to me, that's a big thrill. It really is. So just to even share the microphone with him. I work in the same building with Scott, so I see him a lot. I grew up listening to Jim Kerr. When I went to St. John's, I don't want to date him, but I grew up listening to him when I was driving to St. John's in the morning, and my wife, Ro, has been an enormous fan of his. So congratulations for your long career. And you too, Shelley. You too, Shelley. I used to listen to Mark Levin on the way home. Is he still there? There's Levin. There he is right there. I used to listen to you when you first started. I said, wow, this guy, I used to listen to him on the way home. I never listened to sports talk on the way home. I always listened to politics. On the way in, I listened to Rush. On the way home, I listened to Levin. I learned from Rush presence. That's what I learned about filling. Well, we both fill up a room. I mean, literally and figuratively. But I learned presence from him. And I want to say first that thank you for all these people. They're all with me, so thank you for every one of you. I'll do this as fast as I can. The CAA people with the mics on app, thank you guys. The Intercom people who were new, because we were at CBS all those years now, it's Intercom that owns FAN. All my FAN guys, some of which trudged through the snow and water. We had to walk about 8 blocks to get here. Even Nantz was walking with us. My 2 update guys I've ever had, Usler and Minko. I've only had 2 for 30 years. They're both here. I can't thank everybody I've ever met at FAN or ever argued with at FAN or ever spent a minute with at FAN. It's too many people. But I want to thank all of you for any bit you've done in helping me with this career so I don't leave anybody out. I have to get to a couple of specific people, though. Number 1 is Nantz. When I went to FAN, when I was working at CBS, I had 3 careers, really. I had my CBS career where I was behind the scene. I was Brent Musburger's brain. And then the kid came from Salt Lake City, and he won the audition, and I teamed with him, and that was Jim Nantz, who I believe by the time he retires will be the greatest sportscaster in the history of American television. And he's already very close to being there. I went to FAN, and they said, no, we're bringing in the biggest guys in the country. And I said, just give me a chance to do a show. And they said, first of all, you're overqualified with your job you have at CBS. Go stay there and work at the job you have behind the scenes. I said, no, I want to do a show. And they said, never happening. I asked once. They said no. I asked twice. I asked 10 times. No. Finally, I was mentioning it to Jim on a weekend we were doing college football together. And he goes, I know someone there. So he called one of the guys who was first working there, Luke Griffin. And Luke Griffin calls me the next day and says, if Jim Nantz says you should do a show, then you can come do a show. I went, did a weekend show. Then they gave me Saturday and Sunday. By Thanksgiving, I was filling in for Pete Franklin. The rest is history. So I've been there ever since. But I would not have got in the door at FAN. None of this would have happened without Jim Nantz, without that phone call. So you want to know why I'm on the air, blame him. Number 2 is Don Imus. When we got to FAN in the beginning was an idea that time hadn't come yet. They hadn't figured out that they needed a local flavor, they needed local guys, they needed to do local sports, and they were bleeding a lot of money. They got Imus, and then they put together a show after that called Mike and the Mad Dog, and everything took off. But from Imus, I learned a couple of things. First of all, I learned business. There was no one shrewder all those years, and I worked afternoon drive, and Don worked mornings for 17 straight years with the dog and myself and Don. We covered 10 hours a day for 17 years of what were great years for FAN. But he was the smartest radio guy I ever met. I learned timing from him, but more than anything else, I learned the idea of how to handle the business end of the business, and there was no one better than that, no one smarter than Imus. You know, you go back, I always like to tell this story. I think this sums up Imus really well. And that is, when he was a young guy, he was working out on the Union Pacific Railroad before he ever got in the radio. And one time, as a teenager, when he was working, they had a terrible crash. And, you know, bodies all over the place, blood, just scarred humanity. And everyone else yelled for a doctor, and Imus yelled for a lawyer. And that was the difference. And that's the kind of thing I learned from him, was that kind of leverage day in, day out at the station. The other guy is my partner of 19 years, Chris Russo. We created Mike and the Mad Dog. You can cheer for Mike and the Mad Dog because, no offense to anybody, including Mike and Mike, but Mike and the Mad Dog is the greatest sports talk show of all time. And it's already been a finalist to be in the Hall of Fame. I hope to come back with him and be inducted for the Mike and the Mad Dog show because I think it earned it. I think it was that special a show. I think it did create a radio revolution, and I'm very proud of the 20 years, almost 20. We were about 2 months short of 20 years that we worked together. Then I've had my third career. You're telling me to wrap it up? These other people were 45 minutes apiece. You're telling me to wrap it up. 2 more minutes, I'll be done, I promise. I feel bad for you. You've been here all night telling them to wrap it up. Not one person ever listened. Not one guy even looked at you. Never even gave you a look. Okay? I did learn something from Joan Hamburg, too. Is she still here? She left. Did Joan leave? She left? She's old, she can leave. But here's the deal. Hey, she could sell snow to the Eskimos, that woman, okay? That's what you learn doing radio. I'm gonna tell you, she could sell anything. And that's a good part of doing radio. So you can learn a little something from everybody there. But the last part of my career has been the most interesting. I had a great 20 years with Dog. We accomplished an enormous amount. But what's going on with social media, what's going on with the kids I'm with now, with the app and all the different things, it's remarkable. It's kind of hard to explain why somebody gets so much attention. I don't understand it myself. You know, some of it's to, you know, being there a long time. Some of it's being in a prominent position. Some of it's just, I don't know, right place, right time. But it's been a wild finish the last 12 years or so. I did leave and come back. You know, stay tuned. Stay tuned. You know, there might be another back page coming. But listen, it's been a great run. Great run. I'm honored to be here. It means a lot to get into the Hall of Fame. It really does. It means a great deal to have all my friends here, to have family here, and to do it in front of my kids, Jack, my daughter Emily, my twins, Jack and Emily, who are 13, my son Harrison, who will be 12 next Tuesday, and of course my lovely wife Ro, who without her, as anyone who knows me and all these people who do know, I wouldn't be standing here right now. There's not a shot in hell I'd be here if it wasn't for her. Okay, not even a little. And she spends all those years talking to friends, and they say to her, why do you stay with that crazy man? And those are my friends that she's talking to when that happens. Somehow it works, and I'm very, very honored to have my good friends here. Thanks everybody for staying. I know it's an awful night, and especially having my kids here, so thank you very much, and God bless.